right, the final thing that we're going to do for this workshop is to save our newly created figures and our subset data set. So here we are writing out data, and this is useful for when we might want to use it um, later. Let's say we just created this beautiful new figure and we want to share it with people. We need to share both the code and the data itself, and then we can send them an image of the a file of the image that we created. So we're going to talk about saving our plots and saving our data. So save plots and save data. We're working from the same script that we did before. So we have all of our packages loaded. We have things in our environment, but we won't necessarily need any of this stuff. But I am still building off of the previous script, and importantly, we're going to use this. We're going to save this Gapminder small2 data set. So let's start with saving the data set. So you might have seen this before, but to save our data set, we use the function write.csv. So write.csv parentheses, and we need to tell it what we want to save. So we're going to tell it to save the Gapminder small _2 data frame. And then we need to give it the file name. And the file name should include both the file path and then the name of the file. So we're going to do a comma and then the argument file. I think it's file.name. Nope, it's just file. What is it? I forget. I forget all the time. That's where we use help to figure it out. So I'm over here in our menu. We're going to do write.csv. That's what we're going to search. It's just called file. It's not called file name. It's just called file. So an example of using the help for us here. So it'll just be called file equals, and then in quotes, we want to tell it the path. So let's put it in our data folder. So in quotes, data \, and then the new name of the file. So let's call it Gapminder _data _Americas 1952 2007. Let's put a underscore in there. All right, and then finally .csv, because we want that file extension to be in the file name, and R knows through this function that it will create a CSV file when you give it that extension in the file name. Comma, we want row.names equals true, because we have, we want row.names, it can equal true or false. We don't have row names here, so we want it to be false. You'll see here in this help that it is default. The option is true. So that's why we want to set it to false here. Otherwise, we'd have row names. And because we don't have row names in our data set, it would just add like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So row names equals false. By default, column names equals true. So we don't have to change that. I had an error. Row names equals false. So I forgot the S. Amazing how you can make silly typos. Okay, now we got rid of the error. So this has now run. We can double check that it's worked by, in our RStudio environment, you can look at files. And in our data folder, you can see I've added the Gapminder data Americas file we just created. You could also look back at your, the Finder on your computer and look in the data folder and see that we've added the Gapminder's data set for what we just created there. So now we've saved our subset of data. Let's also save our plot. Save the bar plot of America's data for 1952 and 2007. There's a few different ways to save a figure or an image. I'm going to show you the ggplot2 way to do it. You'll also find another way where you can open sort of this instance of a figure and add stuff to it. You'll see that on the website if you're following along, but I really think that this way I'm going to show you is the most straightforward and it's the most useful way. So we're going to save the data using the ggplot2 function. So the function that we're going to use is called ggsave, pretty intuitive, parentheses, and you need to give it the file name. So this is where I thought it was file name, not file. So it's file name altogether. File name equals quotes, and we're going to put this in our figs folder. So FIGS backslash, and then give it the name of the figure. So we'll say bar plot America's GDP. Okay. And like we did with the data, we want to tell it the type of file we want. So let's do an image file, and one of the image file extensions is PNG, so .png. And so that's all we have to do. There's a lot of defaults here that R will know, like the size of the data. So let's just take those defaults for now. So it says it's saving a 7x7 inch image. That's something that we can change. But if we look in our folder that we have, in our figs folder, here we have the bar plot America's. I made a typo where I said, oh no, I didn't make a typo. Bar plot America's GDP. So here's our image file, our PNG file of the figure that we just created. Now it's really easy. Let's say you need to submit to a journal a PDF file. They're asking for a vector format. Well, you can do that as well. So you can say ggsave file name equals, in quotes, figs. We can give it the same file name. So we're going to do bar plot America's GDP, and we'll just change the extension to .pdf. We'll run that. Again, it's saving a 7x7 inch image, and here we have a PDF of our figure. So it's really easy to change the extension. And if you look at the help package or the help file, you do ggsave, you can see which plot it will do. So it's by default doing the last plot. We could have specified which plot it was doing. And you can change like the resolution, the size. So oftentimes you'll need a image resolution size or like a height and a width size. So you can change a bunch of the defaults there. Okay, so that is saving our data and our file for what, and our image for what we just created. And these will be useful when we create some pretty cool data and some pretty cool images with the geospatial data set.